Welcome back. With me right now is candidate Duke Nguyen, and Duke is running for Orange County Sheriff, and we're happy to have you here today, sir. Welcome back, really. You've been on, you were here before the primary.
Thank you for having me on again.
Yeah, it's great. So just tell me in your opinion, the importance of this position in Orange County. I know you've had a great background. If I recall, you've been, weren't you with the LA Sheriff or LA?
Yes, LA County Sheriff, which is 9,000 men and women serving that county. Yeah. So yes. You know, for so long, this county, over 4 decades, this county has operated under the old systems. Really, we have in law enforcement in this county hasn't really moved forward in terms of how to better serve our community. Mm-hmm. We still have, you know, all the corruptions years after years. We have all those scandals of jailhouse escape, money's excessive use of force, recording, illegal recording in the county jail. These are scandals that we as law enforcement should know better. I mean, we learned this the first day at the academy. First Amendment right, Fourth Amendment right. So I wanted to come into this department and I wanted to bring up to speed in terms of improving technology, updating with our men and women, the do and the don't, and you know, the bills of right in our Constitution. Because they need to have a refresher course how to better serve our community in that perspective.
You know, they all, just recently, I think maybe even today on the news, they talked about the recordings and things like that in the county jails. And of course, it's something that shouldn't be done. But on the other hand, you know, nobody wants to see under technicalities these criminals released, because in some cases they are violent criminals. Right. So what's your opinion on that? Like, going forward, we should correct this? You know, they've already been convicted of these crimes, so.
You're right, we have to correct the problem, because what we have to look at is our Constitution and our state laws and our federal law that govern these programs. We have to go back and write the policy for the program and make sure that everyone follow that policy. And you know what, this practice has probably been practiced across the state and across the nation. But there's have to be implementations of doing it properly, doing it right. I, as a detective, and like I said, when we do something like this, we get a court order. Right, right. And based on that court order, allow us permission to do what we need to do, only recording what is necessary to prove in the case. Okay. You see, right. But the Orange County Sheriff here has abused that system and went beyond that the law.
All right, one concern is, of course, the budget, the sheriff's budget. This is true of other Orange County agencies as well. Right. It's not just exclusive to them. How would you tackle this? Because this is it's a situation where costs go up. You want to get the best men and women on the force and be able to protect communities. And it's a problem for instance, Laguna Woods, because this is a contract city, as is where I live. I live in RSM, and many other, especially South Orange County cities, are what's called contract cities. They don't have their own police force. Right.
So I talked about, you know, my budget has come up to close to $1 billion budget. That's about 70% of the county's budget alone. I want to relook at the infrastructure in terms of reducing the contract, because I want to look at, I don't want to charge the city something that we're never able to use, like example, helicopters. Right. If we don't have a helicopter usage or the need for it, I'm not going to put that in the budget. However, if we do, we'll charge you by the hour that helicopter has spent on the air for that incident, which is better than catering to something that we know we don't use out of it. Also, what I want to look at is increasing, I want 2-man car, which is 2 patrol officers in the car, to best serve our community. Because I think if you, at the same time, instead of having a 2 vehicle, you're paying the gas, the maintenance. Why don't you just pay for one vehicle having two person in the car to cut down the cost of the vehicle maintenance, and that's tremendously. So I want to look at the totality of my budget and want to make sure that we stay in budget. Most importantly, I want to work with our community, and I want to work with our folks out there who are currently suing the county and the department. I want to see how we can better serve, because if you limit the liability, you limit the payout. Those payout are in the billion.
Right.
You know, right now we're talking about $4.4 million that was paid out for all this scandal, and it is rising. And that's, again, those money could have been better spent for training and other resources.
Also rising throughout the state, and is a concern for something like the Orange County Sheriffs and other agencies, are the pensions.
Right.
And are we getting to the tipping point of paying out these pensions? You know, unlike people who are on Social Security, you got to be a certain age before you start collecting.
Right.
However, when it comes to the sheriffs, Orange County Fire, and throughout the state, it's more by years rather by age, meaning you put in whatever, 25, 30 years, I'm not sure what it is. You can start getting close to 100% of what your salary was. Does this need to be looked at in a different way, that perhaps going forward, more like our Social Security system, where they have to wait till a certain age? They can retire when they want, but... Right.
So the pension reform has always been a top issue. In 2012, the pension reform for law enforcement or first responder has changed. I know it's changing again, probably in about another year or two, up in Sacramento. I want to look at, so typically a person would do 30 years at the age of 55.
Right.
That's the magic number, is 30 years at the age of 55. And they typically will probably retire somewhere about 90% of their time. So I want to see how do I look at it, and in terms of extending that age or reducing the year of service. And I want the men and women to retire early, early on, because as you progress to a later stage of your career, you're increasing dramatically in percentage.
Right.
So right now we see the rise of people who are injured. So if I can get those people who are retired at a sooner, at an early age, maintaining a good percentage to get those people off and hopefully recruit the new folks in. So you have to kind of...
So does that mean if they retire at an early age, they get their pension then, or they still have to wait till a certain age?
They still have to wait to that certain age, because
so it would be up to them to, find work in between or whatever.
Right, because what we see now is there are people in their last 5 years, they'll put in for injury on duty.
Right.
So at the age of 50, they'll do an injury, and they sit for 5 years collecting, and now we're paying that injury and taking that I call it a dead weight space, where I could have hired 2 or 3 more recruits who's coming in and do their job at a lower cost.
All right, a big issue throughout Orange County is the homelessness, and it's a very difficult issue because people who are doing okay, they live in apartments, they live in houses, they got families, they don't want the homeless and what they bring with them.
Right.
A very good percentage of the homeless have some mental illness that are involved, and it's almost like no matter what you do, they don't have the capacity to have a productive life.
Right.
What is your take on this? It's not an easy answer, because, as I said, some of the homeless housing areas, or the housing they want to put up, are near people's homes, and neighbors are going, we don't want this near us.
Right. You're right. This issue of homeless cannot be dealt with at the law enforcement level. It has to be dealt with as the whole county. And we're going to do things where the community will like, community will dislike, community approve and disapprove. Some cities say, I don't want homeless in my town. Some will say, you know what, at minimal cost. We have to sit down with every elected official in this county, and we have to make sure what's best serve the whole county. There's going to be some solution where some city might not like, but you know what? There's our opportunity to get our homeless off the street and off their lawn into an area where we can sustainable, having them shelter, have them treat for mental health and also for any medical care that need to be done, because otherwise our community can be plagued with all these community disease, and that's not what we want.
All right, sir. Thank you very much for coming on. Good luck to you. And it's very easy, nguyenforsheriff.com, if you'd like more information about Duke and why he is running. And remember, it's November 6th.
Again, thank you for having me on.
It's always good to see you, sir.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.